The jury has reached a partial verdict in the trial of the men who organized the 2017 Unite the Right March in Charlottesville, Virginia. They found the defendants liable of civil conspiracy for planning the deadly rally, but the jury could not agree on every count. Joining me now for more on this decision is Nicole Sganga. She's a CBS News Homeland Security and Justice reporter. Nicole, thanks very much for being with us. So what did the jury find the defendants liable of?
Elaine, good to be with you. Now, 24 organizers of the Unite to Right rally more than 4 years ago, including some of notorious white supremacist leaders, including Richard Spencer, Jason Kessler, Christopher Cantwell. Well, they were found to have engaged in conspiracy to intimidate, harass, or harm ahead of that deadly August 2017 weekend. Now, the 11-member jury, as you noted, did not reach a verdict on 2 federal conspiracy charges, but they managed to find that every defendant here was liable for civil conspiracy. That is under Virginia state law. Now, the jury then went on to award more than $25 million in damages against 12 individuals and 5 white nationalist and neo-Nazi groups. 2 of the 9 plaintiffs listed in this case here. And now nearly half of that money is owed by James Fields Jr. You might recall he is serving time behind bars, serving life behind bars after he plowed his car through a group of counter-protesters, killing 32-year-old Heather Heyer and injuring scores of others. The jury found that all of the defendants here, again, engaging in conspiracy to harm, harass, or intimidate, and 5, beyond that, 5 defendants here also found liable for engaging in racial, religious, or ethnic harassment or violence. Among the defendants are some longstanding hate groups, including League of the South and Vanguard. They all owe $1 million apiece, Elaine.
And Nicole, what exactly were the 2 counts they could not come to an agreement on?
Yeah, those were federal conspiracy charges. And if the goal here was to bankrupt the defendants, well, certainly the attorneys for the plaintiffs did just that. But the heart of this case really did center on those federal statutes, counts 1 and 2. The law itself, the statute itself, known colloquially as the Ku Klux Klan Act, dated back to 1871 in the Reconstruction era, and it was designed at the time to protect African Americans in the South, but it was unearthed for this civil case to try to prove under federal law that the defendants here entered into a conspiracy to commit racially motivated violence. For the plaintiffs, unfortunately, they did not reach a verdict. The defendants, of course, celebrating this fact. And in the note to Judge Norman K. Moon, the federal judge here, the jury saying that they were deadlocked on these counts, that they did not believe that they were going to reach a verdict on those 2 here. We got sort of a preview of that yesterday when they had sent a question to the judge asking, well, what happens if we can't all unanimously agree on all of the counts? So this being a partial verdict that was reached, Elaine.
You touched on this, Nicole, but what were the reactions by the defendants and the plaintiffs to the decision?
Yeah, well, Karen Dunn and Roberta Kaplan, who are 2 of the attorneys, the main attorneys for the plaintiffs here, did call this, a victory. They said, quote, "We feel that justice was served today. There's going to be accountability for the people who did this." They did also announce, though, at an impromptu press conference that occurred outside this federal courthouse moments ago, that they were going to try to relitigate count 1s and 2. They said, maybe if they brought this in front of a different jury, a jury perhaps that was less eager to get to Thanksgiving dinner with their families, that they think they will be successful at getting, the verdict they wanted on that federal conspiracy statute. So making that announcement today. I will say that Amy Spitalnik, who's the executive director of the civil rights group behind the lawsuit, also made very clear in a statement to reporters here that that group is committed to ensuring that the plaintiffs can collect on these judgments and that defendants don't escape liability. There's a lot of concern, Elaine, given that many of the defendants here are flat broke. They have said as much during the course of this trial. In fact, We know Richard Spencer and Christopher Cantwell defended themselves because they could not afford lawyers. So concerned that perhaps it's going to be difficult for the plaintiffs to collect on all of these damages. So here we're hearing from the plaintiff side saying that they're going to do the best they can. But we did also hear from the defendants' attorneys in this case, including James Knolik, who represents two defendants and the group Identity Europa. He said he's going to try to reduce the damages in future court hearings, try to cut them down in size potentially.
And Nicole, this was such a high-profile trial. What kind of precedent does this set?
Well, Elaine, we talked about this a little bit earlier before, but really the heart of this case, which was those federal conspiracy, statutes here, the fact that there was no verdict served in those could set a precedent. Some of the Capitol police officers, believe it or not, and lawmakers are currently using the very same statutes in their own civil suits that are being brought to bear in the aftermath of January 6th, using that statute, in charges against former President Donald Trump, Rudy Giuliani, Steve Bannon, some Trump campaign and administration associates. And so possible that, some of those attorneys for the plaintiffs in those cases are really looking at this trial perhaps for a sense of what is to come. Now, we will see whether or not, as I noted earlier, that the plaintiffs are hoping to retry, these two counts on this federal statute. It remains to be seen whether or not they will be successful in really using this 150-year-old statute to try to seek damages as part of a civil case.
All right, Nicole Sganga reporting from Charlottesville for us. Nicole, thank you very much.
Thank you.